Please forgive me for my transgressions. Oh yeah.
Yo, we live in misery, ghetto infested, crack facilities where people struggle and strive against their own abilities. I try to put the people on and tell them what they're doing is wrong. An epidemic, this is prolonged. Misery, the day that Christ was betrayed, as he sat and broke bread when I had a scheme to hold him back. Now picture this, living your life at the age of 12, going around town telling the wise men to get on track and growing up, walking in the footsteps of Christ, knowing death, knowing the time Satan tempt you in the night. Fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, afflictions, praying for strength in the Lord to overcome this. And what about the times when they doubted you, didn't believe because they couldn't see what it is to see? You got eyes but they don't see, you got ears but they don't hear. That's why we living in misery.
Lord, forgive me for I've sinned over and over again, and again and again and again. Lord, forgive me for I've sinned over and over again, and again and again and again.
Attempting to reach the promised land. Be homage and praise to Yahweh. Why should we not have? Even the families of Israel, spoken of all over the Bible, awaiting the arrival of the Son of Man. If the truth hurts, then duck down, cause his verse is homicidal. Bust my gun in hand, destroying my arch rival. He's on the ground, stretched out like a rubber band. I'm 7 times, I understand. Don't take it literal, condition is critical. Cause every shot was spiritual. 3 shots to the face, judgment, mercy, and faith. By the grace of the Most High that we were in place. More shots landed, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Without these, your spirit abandons your body, and now your pussy brand the last of more powerful force on the planet. So is outlandish, a place where the laws in our hearts will be branded, living out the true example of what a man is. Our minds are like a fragile package of damage. The eyes of the Lord got us on candid camera, watching us whatever we do. Forever he rules. For us, the Red Sea was severed in two.
Faith. For all Israel to have, they crucified the Son of Man, wicked acts like him. I ran since I was a slave, mentally pained. I cry out to the Lord, they but never in vain. We soon reign and have dominance like the days of old. The Lord covered the promised land, the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen.
Give me for I've sinned over and over again, and again and again. Lord, forgive me for I've sinned over and over again, and again and again and again.
Ever since I get the Spirit of the Lord, I've been walking in the righteous path of Yahweh Shai, trying to keep my head up as I walk by. All of the simple and perverse, for this world is such a curse. When I tell you, I mean there is no sign of the truth. No more praying in the booths or the tabernacles and our solemn feast where we used to eat all the holy things. With before the Most High when we cover sins. Man, you should have been there when I tell you. What the hell you call this wretched ass place? Such a disgrace. Man, we've been misplaced. Lord, we praise. Now we praising every day. Wishing you were here. Looking up the sky where we know that you will appear. Come on down, lift us up, take us out of here. Bring us to a land where the righteous is always near. And it's all about faith, cause there ain't no fear.
Lord, forgive me for I've sinned over and over again, and again and again and again. Lord, forgive me for I've sinned over and over again, and again and again and again.
despised and rejected, spit on and disrespected, came to my own afflicted. Why didn't they listen to me? The greatest sacrifice no other man could ever give. I gave my life and soul, knowing it would make you live. Spirit was willing, with my flesh I had to overcome. I asked my Father, pass this cup, but I was the only one to do His will, fulfill the scriptures to perfection. Lay down my life in hope of reconciliation. Christ is on His way. Will you be waiting for me? Christ is on His way. Will I find faith in Thee? Christ is on His way. Come to the end of this confusion. Christ is on His way. Establish eternal righteous ruling. Christ is on His way. Will you be ready for me? Christ is on His way. Or will I find iniquity? Christ is on His way. I bear the sins of many. Christ is on His way. How could you do this to me? Of all the families on earth, you only have I known. My sheep who's lost in this world, to you my love was shown. I came to give repentance, forgiveness of your sins, to be a prince and savior, but you won't let me in. Instead you delivered me unto the enemy with all your blasphemies. How could you do this to me? Stiff-necked and stuck in your ways, you broke the covenant. You only got a few days before I make my judgment. Oh, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What they do, what they do. I will plead with them face to face till I turn them back to you.
Yo, you thought I wasn't coming back? Imagine that, watch the sky crack when I attack. I held back the winds from the four corners. Now you were gonna watch my battle wax get bloody. No one above me to please them, to choose me, to bruise me, but nothing could move me. You refused me like you never knew me. I didn't have to do it when I carried your iniquity, your wickedly witchery. And you don't remember me, the whole world watched on my name. They lied, denied that I died, but so they pierced my side. Now I will return to burn, to unlearn, but the whole world heard. Everything I do is for the Lord. If I breathe, I breathe for Christ. If I die, I die for Christ, no matter the price. Understand it, I present my body as a living sacrifice.
That's right.
Fit for the kingdom of the Lord is at hand. The coming of Yahushua is not. And he prophesied when he was going to be born and died. I hope these cats realize that there ain't much time. First and foremost is Satan host post. Keep your guards up and close with the armor of the Most High. He's not a man that he should lie. I hate when we teach Jake and they walk on by.
Christ is on His way. Will you be ready for me? Christ is on His way. Will I find faith in Thee? Christ is on His way. Come to the end of this confusion. Christ is on His way. Establish eternal righteous ruling. Christ is on His way. Will you be ready for me? Christ is on His way. Or will I find iniquity? Christ is on His way. I bear the sins of many. Christ is on His way. How could you do this to me? Christ is on His way. I'll hear the ready for me. Turn up the nations His way. Ain't gonna take this no more. Israel, you better enjoy. Come on and know this confusion. Turn up the nations His way. Ain't gonna take this no more. 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 Ain't gonna take this confusion. Ain't gonna take this no more.
Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for being here. You could have been any place on the planet, but you chose to be here tonight. And I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. And that's real talk. That's not me just speaking just to speak. It is heartfelt. I really mean it. It takes a lot to do what we do, and it takes a lot for you guys to show up here after a long day of work and support and know that, a thumbs up is free. It helps the algorithm. It helps, YouTube take our message and push it forward so that the Lord's word gets out there. So, we know that the Lord's word do not go out void, but we want to do everything that we can as his disciples to push it out there, right? So that's what a thumbs up will do. Thumbs up, like, share, comment. I know I was supposed to put in the comments the question. Sorry, I got caught up. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll give you a second day to get that question right. So let's go through our hashtags here because we're going to be here for a short time. I don't plan on rocking out like we do on Testimony Friday. So with that being said, let's go through our hashtags. We have no more be the change. It takes a village. And visitation rights are for inmates, not fathers. We do this every Wednesday and every Friday. We know what no more means. We know what be the change means. Stop waiting on someone to do something when you have it in your heart to do it. Just be what you want the change to be. Just be that. Visitation rights are not for fathers. They are for inmates. Ladies, come on, man. When you have a good father, but for whatever reason your relationship didn't work, you're pissed off, you're angry, you put him in a system that's not made for fathers. It's made to insult. It's made to it's not for a father, a good man that takes care of his children, right? And understand that to every action there's a reaction, there's a cause and effect, and we're going to get to that, right? So then we go to acknowledgement, the AAA, acknowledgement, acceptance, and application. Acknowledgement that you are the reason why you're in the situation that you're in today. The quicker you learn that, the quicker you can start making the changes to become a better version of yourself. Now, we have to understand that there is always a cause and effect, right? The effect happens because of the cause. So you have to accept the ramifications of the decisions that you make in your life. And a lot of us, we tend not to want to accept the ramification. So today we're going to be talking about acceptance and accountability. We're going to be talking about that today. So here's the beautiful thing about acceptance and acknowledgement. In between those two is the learning curve. You take what you've learned and you grow from it, and you walk in a different man as you walk out. And that's where you can apply what you've learned. Good evening, Jasmine. Thank you for being here. We then move on to the mirror. Now, a lot of you guys don't know, and I tell you this all the time. I have a mirror on my desk as when I'm at home and I'm in my office and I'm broadcasting, I have a mirror here, right? So as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at myself. Why am I doing that? I'm not that vain. I'm doing that because we have to understand that sometimes in our own conceit in learning this word, we tend to think that these words don't affect us. And it does. There's a two-edged sword. So there's no one greater than the word. We're all subject to it. So the mirror is so important. The self-introspection. This helps you to stay grounded. But this also comes with a person that understands themselves. Sometimes, the vision can become foggy. It can become, a little it's hard to see at times. And this is why it's very important for you to put the right men and women around you so that they're not yes men. You want to have spiritual men and spiritual women around you so that they can tell you about yourself. And it may hurt at the time, but it's only there to help. And this is the thing. When you have that relationship with these men and women, you're not going to have to think about them disrespecting you or take it to that point because you already know that it's coming from a place of love. So self-introspection is so important. And then we love you too, Nightbot. The truth is too heavy for the weak. Absolutely. You know, we're living in a world where this world will make you think that the truth is a lie, that what you actually see isn't what you just saw. What you just heard isn't what you just heard. Nah, that's not what you're hearing. Something totally different. You know, we have these cliches that, we tend to just throw them around. We don't think about it, right? One of the cliches that I like to use as an example of it being garbage is when in Rome, do as the Romans do. How many people have heard that? If you have heard that cliche, press one, please. Because I've heard it plenty of times. Plenty of times. And you tend to, we tend not to think about it. We don't think about these things. So, the Lord tells us to, come ye out of her and partake not of her sin. Right? What is he talking about? He's saying to you that there should be a distinct difference between the way this world moves and how you function in it. There should be a difference. I shouldn't be able to look at you and look at someone in the world and kind of get, kerfuffled and not be able to tell the difference between a believer and a person that's not. There's a problem. The problem ain't them. The problem is you. Now, why is the problem you? Because you're the one claiming to be a believer. So there has to be a difference. Christ walked against the grain. Christ didn't agree with this world. In fact, Christ says, I'm coming back to destroy the world. There's nothing of this world that is going to be in the kingdom. Nothing. This world is too wicked. It's too evil. It's too wicked and evil. It's weevil. That's the new word. It's weevil. Wicked and evil. Put it together, weevil. This world is too evil. It's too. So there's supposed to be a distinct difference between you and them. Absolutely. Now understand this. The Lord tells you I came to put variance against father and son, mother and daughter. Just because they're brother and sister doesn't mean that they're going to get in at the same time or get in together. It doesn't mean that. You got to understand this. Christ looked at his disciples and his mom and dad when they said, your mother and your brother come to see you. Said, who is my mother? Who is my brother? He pointed at the disciples, say, they are my mother and they are my brother, those that follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. I know that's a hard saying, but it's the truth. I know it's hard. But this is the vocation we chose. This is not going to be easy. Everyone, when you look to your left and you look to your right and you're in the kingdom, you're going to know that every man and every woman deserves to be there. There ain't no one that just got in because they had bread. No one got in because, they knew somebody. None of that. The days of the Pharisees and Sadducees are done. They're done. Now the Lord is checking your heart. And if you didn't know, now you know. So the weak won't carry the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. We're going to talk about that today too for a little bit. They don't want to hear the truth. They run from the truth. What does it say? The wicked fleeth when no man pursueth. They run. There's no man chasing them. You know what's chasing them? The spirit of truth is chasing them. That's why I said that no man pursueth, but the spirit of truth does. We moved to we need vision and not sight. Oh my God. I love that one. Today we're going to be talking on the brothers today. Oh, Bolo, you getting on the brothers? Absolutely. We're getting on the brothers today. And a lot of us, this goes for women too. We make our decisions on sight, right? On our bad sight. Man's sight is so bad. It's just bad. The Lord tells you that my throne is the heavens. The heavens is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Who has a better line of sight than he does? Who has a better line of sight? When you look at wisdom, and wisdom said when the Lord was creating the universe, he used me as the foundation. He used me. to separate the waters. He used me to search out all these different things. So what do you know? I thought so. You know nothing. But see, we tend to pick the women that we think we want. Pick the men that we think that we want. And then when they turn out not to be what we thought they was, and even though they advertise what they really were, because in man, we are so egotistical that we think that we can change people. We think that, if we give them a child, their whole thought process is gonna change. We think that if, we marry them, they're gonna, it doesn't work that way. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. Because you believed in your sight. You believed in your own ego. And this is what happens. Now we're left with this, and we have to deal with this. So what do? What should we lean on? We should lean on the vision of the Lord. Why? Because the Lord sees it all. He is all. He is I am. Understand that I am. Lyric said it nice. She said, I am is always moving. Think about that. That name is not a standstill name. See, King is a standstill name. King. When you say I am, I'm doing something. Lord said I am. You are what? Exactly. Huh? I am. What are you? Exactly. I'm everything, brother. Nothing on this earth that you can see that I am not. I am it all. And that's the problem. That's the problem. We don't realize that he is all. He is all. So, that being said, we need his vision. Because I guarantee you, he can pick a wife better than you can. I guarantee you, he can pick a husband better than you can. I guarantee you that the decisions that you need to make in your life, if you are in him, I guarantee you, using his discernment, you will make much better decisions. Doesn't mean that you ain't going to trip. Doesn't mean that you ain't going to slip. Doesn't mean that. But I guarantee you, you'll have a much better ratio in decision making than you would if you didn't have them. Hey, Miss Lyric, how are you? Welcome, Miss Lyric, to the stage. Okay, I guess you can hear me. Can you hear me? All right, we'll continue. I don't know what's going on with the mic. So with that being said, we come to our last and final. We need to stop being emotional animals and start being spiritual creatures. Now listen, I give you this example all the time, and I know you're probably getting tired of it, but until I can figure out a new example, I'm going to continue giving you this example. Animals are instinctive. And the difference between man and animal, the Lord gave us dominion over the earth, right? We are self-aware. We know that there's a God. They just move. They do what they do. We ponder things. We're so, what's the word? Disrespectful that we'll even sit there and think that there's a different God. We'll create all these different things. So man, in our deceit, in our conceit, we become emotional. We that's what this world wants us to stay as. They want us to stay as emotional animals. They want us to move emotionally where there's no cognitive thought. There's no response. There's only reaction, right? And reaction is, a knee jerk. There really is no thought. Blinking is reaction. I flinch at you, you blink. But when we deal with the Lord wants us to be spiritual creatures. He wants us to think. He wants us to be prudent. He wants us to use wisdom. He wants us to be still. He wants us to take in the whole matter, not just a portion that suffices us, not just a portion that suffices us. So I'll give you my example that you guys hate that I do. So I'm walking down the street, you know what I'm saying, listening to some Rakim, got my Laney ones on, and somebody just steps on my joints. Now, come on, man. These are ones. These are classics. Classic. You should get a beat down. Now, if I was an emotional animal, there's no thought process. There's no cognitive thought. I paid good money for these sneakers. He stepped on them. There's a problem. There's a problem. But as a spiritual creature, we take in the whole totality of this situation, right? So, you know that our spiritual is always connected to the God network. We always know that. And we're getting real information in real time to our mental. So the Lord shows me that this guy was going to get hit by a car, so he jumped out of the street and he landed on me. I'm still upset. I'm still pissed off, but now I have a picture. I have a look. Now, I'm not as upset as I was if I was an emotional animal. I understand. That's the point. I understand. Doesn't change that I'm angry because I got Converse sneakers on top of my Jordans. It doesn't change that fact, but I can understand it. And that's the thing that the Lord wants us to walk away with. Understanding, knowing how to address this situation. It's not always crush. So with that being said, here in the village, we believe that your four bodies should be at a perpetual balance or as close to it. Where is my man?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Thank you for being here. You guys could have been any place, but you chose to be here tonight. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. So we have Miss Lyric Speaks on stage. Can you hear me, Miss Lyric?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
And all these darn shoe boxes are his. Why would he throw?
Okay. She got a lot going on. Yeah, I said, it's good to see you. Good to hear you. So I guess I'll start us on the way. But you know what we do every time we come in here. Let's give some shout outs to the people in the place to be. And who do we have in the place? Lady Navoa, thank you. M. Mills, thank you for being here. Thank you. Mama B in the building. Thank you for being here. We have Dante. What's up, my G? What is up? Who else do we have? We have Nightbot. For all those that be hating, stop hating on Nightbot. We have Jasmine. Good to see you. Thank you for being here, sis. Who else do we have? We have Miss Anae. She is the official contract holder. How are you? And she's the gangster of the village. She said she's the one that gets people jumped, whether you guys believe it or not. Don't let the voice fool you. Who else do we have? We have my man Righteous Rollo, Double R in the building, BCDC. Thank you for being here, my brother. Thank you for being here. And who else do we have? Is that it? We have 84 in the building. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the support. Yeah, you know I'm talking about Jordan 1s. Yeah. 6s, 11s, 12s. Those are my joints. You know what it is. And Butterfly. And yeah, that's that Butterfly in the building. Thank you for being here, sis. And Mr. Von Eric in the building. Thank you guys for being here. Round of applause. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Y'all guys could have been with Dante in the building, always giving a little to the building. Thank you so far. Thank you so much, Dante. Thank you. We got to talk, man. You and I, we got to kick it. So that being said, so today we're gonna, something was on my mind, and I just wanted to talk about it for a second. Won't go into it too long, but it's gonna be something quick, and I'm sure Miss Lyric Speaks is gonna be able to jump into this conversation to give us the female's perspective. But I want to talk to you guys about you brothers. I want to talk to you guys about the men, about the difference of a man of the Lord and a man of the world, a prudent man and an emotional man. I think that we're getting them conflated. I think we kind of don't know the difference. I think in this world of lies, we start to think that the emotional man is the man that we ought to be, opposed to being the spiritual man inside of Christ. So I'm here to wave the red flag and tell you foul, 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 foul. No, sir. No. So let's talk about it. So, let's talk about the egotistical man, the man who is exiting God out, the man that says that I can do it, I don't need God, the man that says that it's all about me. That's what we're going to talk about. Hold on one second, guys. Hold on one second.
Well, you guys, I am cooking. And,
What are you cooking?
a little bit of everything. And dealing with a frustrated teen just because she wants to be. She absolutely has no reason to be frustrated, but she is, and that's okay. But I think that it's going to be a good show. I really wasn't prepared for a man versus woman topic. I didn't think that we were
Men versus
about that.
when have we ever did men versus women? Men versus
Sometimes
women?
you go into it subtly, but you still go into it.
Well, today it's gonna, we're gonna see. I mean, it's good to have you up here, giving the woman's perspective. We're gonna give. I wanted to talk on the egotistical male, and I guess we can talk about the egotistical female and the attributes, and I'm sure they're going to kind of mimic or have similar attributes, and talk about the prudent man and the prudent woman. I think that this is a conversation that needs to be had for the simple fact that we have these team ups where we have these men that are clicking up together, and they are forming a narrative, and they're forming a narrative. And these younger men that may not have a fatherly figure in their life will see these men that click up with each other, and these men give off definitely the wrong vibration and the wrong definition of what a man is. So, and again, like I said, it's the same when we're talking about women. It's the same, right? Egotistical. They think it's about them. They move by their folly. They move by the beat of their own drum. There's nothing. They move through life through anger, no understanding, no accountability. They blame everyone else for their problems. They do not look in the mirror, like we spoke about earlier. They don't look in the mirror and see the dysfunction that they bring to the situation. It's always a finger pointing situation. They figure that they try to figure their way around growth. They don't want to grow. They complain and complain about the same thing and don't grow. What they choose to do is build low so that they don't have to aim high. So, again, This can go for both men and women. However, I wanted to isolate the both. I don't think it's a conversation that we need to be ready for. I just think it's a conversation that needs to be had, because when you look at the conversations that are circular, the circular conversations, and we've spoken about this a few times, the circular conversations that these men are having and that these women are having. Again, like I said, it's the same thing. It looks a little bit different on both sides, but it's the same thing. It equals out to be the same thing. It's like a Republican and Democrat. Same thing. One is rawer than the other, but it's the same garbage, right? So they kind of do the same thing. They blame everybody else for their problems. They don't look in the mirror and say, how did I end up in this situation? They don't look in the mirror and say, okay, cool. I understand that this person is dysfunctional. I understand that this person is this and that. But how did I end up here? How did I get into this situation? Because I had to add to it. This wasn't something that just happened by itself. It isn't something that just happened. This had to have happened with my help. She didn't just end up pregnant. There is no, second immaculate conception. There's only one. There's only one. So, we're going to read a few scriptures pertaining to wisdom and prudence. We're going to even go into what the word prudence means, because it's a very, absolutely, Mama B, it's a blame game. It's a blame game. Everyone is pointing the finger, but not looking into themselves and saying, what do I need to do to get myself right with the Father? What do I need to do? Why am I in this situation? What is it? Why am I put here? What did I do wrong? See, when we look to blame someone, again, remember, acknowledgement, acceptance, and application. If I don't take accountability for what I do, if I don't acknowledge the portion that I played in this situation, no matter what your situation is, I don't care what it is. If you can't acknowledge the part that you played in it, then there's no growth. Growth doesn't start at all. Growth starts when you can look in the mirror and say, I did add. I did add. I didn't need to do that. You're absolutely right. Because now you know that there's a cause and effect. You know that once you acknowledge, you're now in that position to accept the ramifications of the decisions you made. How can you accept the decisions that you made if you haven't acknowledged the cause? Damn sure you can't accept the effect. And that's where a lot of us stumble. A lot of us stumble because we can't acknowledge where we messed up. We can't acknowledge and say, you're right, my bad. Our ego won't allow us to do that. So what do? We continue this fight. We continue to move in our ego, even though you know that you're wrong. We continue to do this. And where is there growth in that? There is no growth. There is no growth if we separate ourselves from the Lord. And when you exit God out, when you choose to put your agenda above his, to say, you know what, I'm going to do me. You are making a you're making a conscious choice to separate yourself from the Father. Because you're saying, I know better. In your actions, I know better. When you tell your child, don't do this, do it this way. Your child's only been on this earth for 8 years, but they know better. Okay, go ahead, go do it yourself. Then when they try to build that go-kart and the whole go-kart falls apart, and you say, you see, I told you to do it this way. They come back crying, and then you're like, okay. But did you learn? Yes. Now, what did that child learn? What did that child learn? That child learned that their way is not the right way. That child learned that I don't know. I need help. That child learned that my mom and my dad, they have more wisdom than me. They know what's going on and I don't. I need to humble myself and hear them. That's what that child learned. But for some reason, we think that when we have a beard or we grow up and we have all these degrees or whatever, we think that we don't have to humble ourselves under the Father. We think that we can just walk and move the way we want to and don't think that there's ramifications for the choices that we make. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. There will always be ramifications for the choices that we make. We have to understand that. So what does the Lord say about someone that is prudent? In Proverbs 8:12, he says, wisdom says, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion. So wisdom is saying, I dwell with prudence. And we went through this definition of what prudence is, right? A prudent man, a prudent woman. What is this? Well, wisdom is saying, I dwell with prudence. Me and Prudence and I, we chilling. That's my man, Prudence. We chill all the time. We talk all the time. And you know me, wisdom, I search through everything. I'm in everything. The Lord used me to create the universe. The Lord used me to measure all these different things. And I'm telling you, I dwell with prudence. So what is prudence? What does prudence mean? What's the definition of this word that wisdom says that she chills with? Well, do you have anything you want to add, Lyric, before I go on?
No.
So prudence is careful. Prudence is careful. So let's go to what Proverbs says about being careful. Prudence searches well, right? Prudence is wise in the aspect of wisdom, sits back and it hears the whole matter before it makes a decision. It doesn't want to miss anything. I remember the example that you brought out, Lyric. I don't know if you remember this one, where you said, did Christ have to justify himself to anybody? Did he yell at everyone? Do you remember that example you gave?
Mm-hmm.
And no, he didn't. He heard everything. He didn't have to explain. He didn't have to explain. Explain to what? Why am I explaining wisdom to fools? Why do I have to explain? Why do I have to justify myself? And you find yourself, a lot of us find ourselves trying to justify ourselves to other men, other women. We're trying to justify ourselves to this world. When the only man that we need to seek, the only man that we need to justify ourselves to is our Lord and Savior. He's the only one. He's the only one. The Lord called this world a pit of vipers and snakes. Why do you need to justify yourself to them? Where are you in your walk? So let's talk about prudence. Prudence is wise in discernment, the avoidance of rash behavior. Prudence sits back and it looks at things. Now, again, we're human. We slip. I speak to you as the chief. I slip. I don't think any of us are far from this. I slip. We strive to be like our Lord and Savior. That's our example. This is what we strive to be. This is who we live our lives after. And we do our best to take on the attributes of which he exhibited. And when it says the avoidance of rash behavior, when you sit down, you hear some of these men and women speak. It's crazy. Rash behavior or speech, it's crazy. You sit there and you say, how could God be in that conversation? How could Christ be in that conversation? This is not Christ. Christ ain't here. Christ is not here at all. Our job is to point it out. Our job is to mark them. It's our job. Our job is to show the light. That's our job. We don't save anyone. That's God's job. Our job is to be messengers. So we message. Jedi in the building. This is what we do. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what the Lord called us to do. Go out there and be my messenger. Go out there and be my living testimony. Go out there and do your best to live your life according to how I want you to live it, so that when they see you, before you even speak, before you utter a word, they see you as being different. They see a light. Now, they want to know, who do you come in? Whose name you come in? Why are you so different? And this is where we open up the Lord about the gospel. My Lord and Savior. My life is changed because of him, because of his sacrifice, because of his death. I'm able to live. These are the words that he gave me to give you. This book here is life. It's life. So it says here, the avoidance of rash behavior or speech, the good management of talents and resources. Did I say resources? Resources. Good management of talent and resources. So what does that mean? So a prudent man or a prudent woman is going to know the people that they have around them. They're going to be aware. See, an egotistical man or egotistical woman, they're going to think that they can do it all. See, a wise king, when you look at, back in the days of the scriptures, the short list of wise kings, right? They had counselors. They had prophets. Some listened, some didn't. But we're not going to, as a king or a leader, whatever you want to call yourself, of a business, you know that you're not going to have all the answers. So you're going to do your best to set up people that might have these answers around you, so that when they counsel you and tell you, now you need to move left or move right, you can trust that man or woman, because this is why you put them there, because they're better at doing this than you are. So you have to manage the resources and the talents around you. If my woman is better at fixing cars than I am, guess who's fixing the cars? If I'm a better cook than she is, guess who's cooking? I am. Because if I don't know anything about flat tires, changing oil, changing gaskets, or any of these things, if she does, why would I be prideful enough to say, no, I'm going to do it? Changing brakes. I know a few men that don't know how to do it. So if I have a woman that knows how to do it, guess what? First off, show me how to do it. I'd like to learn. It's the first thing. But if you're better at managing money, guess who's managing the money? You. You know how to manage talents and resources, and the showing of tact when it comes to wisdom in relationships with people. You know how to build relationships. You know how to speak to people. You know the different ways of having conversation. It's not always one way. The Lord tells you that we ought to know how to season our speech so we know how to respond, right? To the weak I became weak, to the strong I become strong. A lot of the times we don't know how to do that. A lot of the times we give meat to babies. We give milk to strong men. And that's not what we ought to do. We ought to understand the men and the women that we are engaging in. It's not about taking charge, Jedi Master. It's not about taking charge. It's about direction. definitely accept responsibility, but it's about direction. You know what I'm saying? It's about direction. Because again, if my wife is better at fixing cars than I am, guess what? Let me ask you a question. Would you feel offended if she started delegating instructions to you in fixing the cars? I wouldn't. Because if I don't know what she's doing and I'm trying to learn what she's already learned because her father might have taught her or whatever the situation is, I need to shut the hell up and learn. I need to be quiet. So if she gives me instruction, listen, I need this, that, I need this wrench, I need that wrench, I need this, I need that, and the third. Okay. See, being a man is not always about being the head. It's about knowing when you have to learn too. Knowing how to follow. Cats always think that, exactly. You said it better than I did. It's a balancing scale. Right. And then he says a lion doesn't have to roar to let you know he's the king of the jungle. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about actually sitting down and letting the Lord run things, not you. It's not about me. And that's the point. It's not an egotistical thing. It's never been about me. So if it's never been about me, how can I have an attitude? How can I be egotistical? This is about Christ. This whole thing is about him. That's who this is all about. From the beginning to the end, to the prophecy of him being born, to him sacrifice. This is all about him. Us servicing him. Us being servants to him. That's what this is all about that. So where do you get your ego from? Where do you get your pride from? It's something false. It's something false. You do nothing.
I'm just gonna chime in quickly and say this. It is good that we're in the. I know you jumped into Proverbs, and it's good that we're in the book of Isaiah right now. And the way I can scale this topic back to it is put everybody together, put everybody in the same thing. And I'm going to say this, because what you're saying sums up to this. Every and any empire that has operated in history, in the world of history, that has been in operation off of their own philosophy, off of their own power, manipulation, economics, and I can just keep going and going and going. Everyone has fallen, every single one. As believers, when we walk into our own ideologies, it's the man that's supposed to be fixing the car, it's the woman that's supposed to be, cooking the food and, cleaning the house and doing this. When we operate inside of our own ideologies, and when we operate inside of our own isms, and I'm gonna break down ism in a minute, but when we operate inside of our own isms outside of him, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, because that's not how things are set up. That's not how he set it up. There was a reason. There was a reason, and there was a deliberate action on why he put us together, and we're supposed to be working, in unison as a team. Literally the statement: when you move, I move. When you jump, I jump. There was a reason for that. So when we get beside ourselves and we say, oh, women aren't supposed to do this, men aren't supposed to do that, and we just keep going back and forth, we're missing out on the big picture. We're missing out on everything that God is trying to show us. And it is a immediate miss out. And it's deliberate on our behalf as believers. It's deliberate. You can't go any other way around it. It's literally deliberate, because now we're saying that it is our own thought process, and it is our own way of thinking, and it's what is for ourselves and what pleases us. Let me do what's right in my own eyes is a phrase that I always want you guys to remember, because when you are moving in that type of thinking and putting people in this box, you are putting yourself in that same box. And when you move in that, you're moving outside of God. Because remember where that came from. I'm just going to give you a hint just in case you forgot, but it was the book of Judges. It is not about this individualism that the world even right now is pushing. That is not what it's about. And now this individualism has been adopted by the male and the female, and it's like, let's be rivals. Let me talk about my situation, let you talk about your situation. When the Bible merges us, when he says man, he's talking about the race, the human race, mankind. Like, add the extra to it. He's talking about mankind. He's not just talking about man. There are some portions of the Bible where he differentiates. And he deliberately differentiates because he's trying to make a point. Also, ignore my daughter in the background. She's singing and she has headphones on. But anyway, but he does that deliberately. But not to cut you off and stray from, I'm not meaning to stray from your point. But what I'm wanting you guys to hear, as Bolo is speaking, is that, number one, get isms out of your head and get this individualistic thinking out of your head, because the world, even nowadays, everything that is set up on this individualistic ideology. And it's funny that we're in the book of Isaiah right now, because Isaiah breaks that down. Like, I know I haven't been here in the morning, but believe me, I'm on track with what's going on. And as these proclamations are given out, and I promise I'll shut up in a minute, but as these proclamations are being given out, there is a reason. And we see these proclamations being delegated. We see Ethiopia get a proclamation. We see Egypt get a proclamation. We see this, we see these proclamations, and we see these things being torn down purposely, because there's something that's about to take off. It's already taken off. You guys read it, I promise. It's already taken off, and it's on purpose. But this divide that has come in between men and women, it's crazy, because it's like, we as believers, and we that hold this faith, and we that are supposed to be showing the world these different, these different actions, this different character, we are supposed to be showing the world something that's separate. And we're thinking we're coming out of the scriptures, and we're not doing it. We're not doing it at all. We're allowing the politics and the politics of the world, and the culturalism of the world, and everything that's going on in the world to dictate our belief. It's speaking into our faith, instead of our faith speaking into the politics. Our faith is supposed to have enough power to change the world's thinking, not the world change our thinking. That's just not how it's supposed to be. So everybody running behind all the way down, let me break it all the way down to politics, and then I'm going to close. But everybody running saying that I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, this, that, and the other. Jesus wouldn't have been either one of those things. Matter of fact, he would have looked at them and he would have hated both. He would have hated both. Because don't forget, when he opened his mouth to speak, what was the first thing that he said? And just in case you guys forgot and don't have out your notebooks, I'm going to tell you. He said, my kingdom is not of this world. I don't know, Lyric, why are you saying that? Because we are running behind ideologies, and we are running behind all these things that don't have anything to do with the very character and the very heart of God. We're chasing by